This is Zach with McIntyre's Garden Center in Georgetown, Texas. Today we're going to talk about the different types of hydroponic systems there are, from deep water culture, ebb and flow systems, drip systems, and the different mediums and components that you would need to operate these systems. The first system to look at and the easiest system to operate is a flood and drain system, or ebb and flow. This consists of a reservoir that holds water and nutrients that will then flood a table so that it will irrigate the plants in the medium in pots, usually net pots, and that they consist of clay pebbles. The clay pebbles will hold a little bit of the moisture and air and nutrients, and as the water flows away, it sucks fresh air in. And this timer usually will run once an hour for about 15 minutes or less in the nighttime hours. In ebb and flow systems, there are several components you will need. One will be a reservoir which holds your nutrients and water solution. Next will be a flood table that will hold water for 15 minutes every hour during daylight times. You will need your standpipe, your flood pipe, to be drilled into the flood table. You also need containers to hold the hydroton clay. Usually net pots are best. I like square pots. They fit in rectangular trays best, but you also don't need an oversized pot, so it needs to match your crop. A hydroton clay is expanded clay that they heat up really fast, and it makes like puffball like substrate for the roots to grab a hold of. You will also need a timer that will cycle your pump to turn on 15 minutes every hour, and this can change from crop to crop. Hydroton clay will need to be rinsed off before being put into a system. The next system we'll talk about is deep water culture. You can get a lot of growth out of this system, but it is a little bit more difficult because you have less buffer for mistakes. If you over fertilize, under fertilize, you also will need to oxygenate the water because the roots are directly in the water. The water does not flow over them, it just sits there. So you must aerate so they can absorb the right amount of oxygen. The components for deep water culture is fairly simple. You will only need an aerator pump, a vessel to hold water, and this could be as small as a mason jar that sits in a window. It could be as big as large table trays that they use for commercial deep water culture. Your buffer is minimal, so you definitely need to have very clean water and pH balanced water. It also needs nutrient solution that goes into it and is changed out weekly or bi-weekly when the plants are young. The pros to a deep water culture is you don't have components that go bad, pumps and the ebb and flow stems getting clogged up. It's just water in a vessel and a tray and no trays or anything like that. The cons to it is that you have to have very clean water. You need to maintain good, clean nutrients, pH balance. But overall, it's a good system. The next system we're going to talk about is a drip system. Just like your ebb and flow, you'll need a reservoir to hold your solution, and you will also need a tray to capture the water coming out of the pots or whatever medium you're using and run back into the reservoir. This system is very simple and very forgiving, just like your ebb and flow system. You will need pH balanced water and good nutrient solution, and change it out as you transition from fruit to flower to vegetation, all these different stages of growth. The next part of these systems is nutrients. We carry Fox Farm, Cutting Edge Solutions, and Earth Juice. You will need to flush your system out every week to every other week. When crops are young, about every other week. When you have mature crops that are sucking nutrients out, probably every week. So you will drain the system, add fresh water, run it for 24 hours with just water, then drain it again and fill it back up with nutrient. And after you mix up your nutrient, you need to pH balance that nutrient to about 6.5, not much lower, and definitely not over 7. Most companies have a nice pH adjustment, in their brand. I found most work just fine, but it's better to play it safe and slightly adjust rather than adding a bunch of solution, because then you'll have to drain it all if you get it too messed up by adding too much up or down. Well, that's going to conclude this video on basic hydroponic setups. If you have any questions, comment below, message us on Facebook, like our page, subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're going to try to put out content about stuff. If you have any ideas for videos, comment below. Thanks for watching.